and welcome to the fourth part of the I Deserve It series. Today's title was I Deserve to Be Counted Out, but He Gave Me Another Chance. Can you please tell us what was the story behind the title?
So to be counted out means everyone else gets chosen and you get to sit on the sideline. So you're not involved. And it's often because you disqualified. So many times if you're looking at like from a sporting perspective, you're injured, you're not in form, you're not going to be able to contribute, or maybe it's a disciplinary thing that you've done something sort of off the field and now you get counted out. And it's a really tough thing because your desire is I want to be a part of it, but even though I want to, I'm not going to get the opportunity. So it's when we fail, when something goes wrong, and sorry, you're on the side.
Many of us don't do well, right, and we fail. But often we also believe that we are doing the right thing because we have this understanding that we are strong all the time. I know all the answers, I know what I'm doing, and I'm right. But we know the word tells us continuously that when we think we're strong, that's when we are most weak. Why do you think, Warren, that we underestimate our weaknesses the way we do?
I honestly believe that we have the wrong concept of what is strong, what is weak, what is going to be an achievement, and what is failure. And the reason for that, it's because of the wrong concept of self and the wrong concept of what is strength. So when we think that we are self-existent, I can manage on my own. When we think that we are self-sustaining, I don't need anybody else's help. We have this idea that we're self-sufficient. So if I can not ask anyone, I don't have to rely on anyone, I can do it. And right there is the exact opposite of what we should be. So we were not designed to be self-sufficient. In fact, we are not self-sufficient. So every single time you take a breath, what you're doing is you're relying on something outside of you. I mean, that's not even to speak about any of the higher things. This is the most basic. I just breathe. Where's that oxygen coming from? Like literally there's an entire system that God has designed that changes carbon dioxide into oxygen just so that you can breathe. And we do that all the time. But we take that very breath and we say, with that breath, I can do it on my own. And it's just stupid. It's literally just stupid. So why do we underestimate our weaknesses the way that we do? It's part of our human nature, and it's part of us not understanding what real strength is. So real strength is not being able to do it on your own. And unfortunately, that's our perception.
Our self, or this perception of self-sufficiency, tends to lead us astray from the Lord. Why do you think that's the case, Warren?
So it's the main components of our human nature. It's pride, it's ego, it's an inflated sense of self. So we have this concept that we are actually greater than what we really are, and that we are not willing to be honest. So we know, and this is the scary part, we know that we are not self-sufficient. We know that we can't do it on our own, and when it suits us, then we'll be happy to ask for help. But for the rest of the time, I want to do it on my own. And I don't want anybody else's interference until I can't. And I'm saying, but then it's not being honest. So it's rather, let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest with reality. And I mean, that sounds weird, but let's just be real about it, specifically from God's perspective. And He's saying, I didn't make you like that. I made you so that you can rely on me. That's the point.
And the point is that the reality is we should be counted out. But God is not counting us out. And it's strange. I love what He said in this morning service. He said, do not put a full stop where God places a comma, rather. So God's saying, yeah, I know this is how you feel, but here I am, rely on my strength. As a human being, Warren, why do you think God gives us another chance?
Because being perfect is not the goal. So I'll answer your question with some questions. What if God is glorified more by your failure? Would you be willing?
Deep.
What if achieving things is not success? What if faith was real success? And what if that's the goal? Then what does it matter about your failure? Then that's not the focus. Because if your failure draws you closer to the Lord, if your failure gets you to change in your character and in your understanding of who God is your failure a failure? It's a failure from whose perspective? From the world's perspective? Maybe from your ego's perspective? But from God's perspective, He uses that failure and He changes that into one of your greatest successes. And that's the story that God wants to write. His story is just very different to the story that we would write for ourselves. Because in our own capacity, we would never include our failures. But God says, you being successful and perfect is not the plan. The plan is for you to rely on me and to trust me. The plan is for you to have faith. And sometimes it takes failure to have godly faith. And then we thank God for it.